them there helmets that we got the first year that I was out was leather, and we thought they was good. And then the next year we got some plastic or fiber, whatever it was, and man, we knew we was in high cotton then, but none of them had face guards on. You know, you just had to wing it. You know.
Which year did y'all get the plastic helmets?
That was the last year, 51, I guess it was.
Yeah. We had leather helmets before.
Right, had leather helmets prior to that. Sure did.
I remember my brother played in 45, 46, I think it was. And for some reason, he brought his uniform home one year. And I saw the helmet. You could mash it together, you know. It wasn't like out like this. You could just mash it together.
Well, tell me about your brother. What's some memories you have of watching him?
Well, I remember the Robertsdale Foley game. Back then, they played at Robertsdale, and then they came to Foley play. Same with Fairhope, same with Bay Minette. Well, they were playing here, Robertsdale, and I was 7th grader. And at that particular time, they had a woven wire fence around it with regular wood posts. So I was standing watching the ball game, and they started a fight out there. And the story goes, and I'm not sure this is true, but Buck Benton told me somebody threw dirt in his eyes, and he retaliated, and then they all started fighting. Well, I was there at the fence, and all the Foley people started going over the fence, and they stepped on my hands there, and I thought they were going to cut them off. You know, they trying to get over the fence to get into that fight.
They did. I remember that. I think that was the first night we had lights. You know,
Yeah.
I think they just put the lights
Right.
up. They up until that time they played in the daytime.
In the afternoon.
Yeah.
So were y'all there the first night game?
Yes.
What do you remember about that?
That fight.
A fight that first night.
I remember that. They cleared both benches, just cleared, and they went at it.
Keith, back then too, Mr. George Strong was the assistant principal. Well, he was from Robertsdale, and when the fight broke out, I was standing by the fence like Edsel, scared to death. I wasn't about to get on the field because I was so young. But Mr. George jumped the fence and went out there and was pulling players apart because he knew a lot of the kids from Robertsdale, you know, but he was grabbing them by the shoulder pads, pulling them off, and he'd get two separated, run over and get another pile. And we laughed at, I didn't laugh, but I thought, now, here's a man, he must have been in, gosh, in his 60s. He was old, and he was out there pulling and trying to separate them. But it was.
And that was at the very first night game.
Yes.
How good were the lights that very first game?
Not too good. Nothing like they are now.
No.
I can tell you.
Back then, Keith, too, Edsel never know, in the middle of the field, it was dirt.
Yep.
They could never get grass to
Yeah.
grow in the middle of the field.
That's true.
And we were playing Milton, Florida. Supposed to be a Friday night game. And rain, it came a flood. So they said, well, we'll play Saturday night. So we got out there Saturday night, all day Saturday. It was just a pretty day. We got up there, lined up to kick off, and the thunder started in the west. And it came a flood. But that was the most fun I ever had. If you got tackled in the mud, you just slide for 6-8 yards, you know. And back then we had dark uniforms. And I'll never forget, Bruce Childress was one guard and Billy Hall was the other guard. And they went down and were supposed to block the linebackers or something, I think. Well, they came back just mad at each other and just about to get in a fight, you know. And I asked him, I said, what's wrong? And I forget which one said it, but he said, I went down the block and he cut across and cut me down because the uniforms were so black and dirty. We didn't know half the time who was who. Oh, Lord.
How good were the lights your senior year? Were they better in 51 than they were back in 45?
Well, they were a lot better, but they still had a dark spot over in one area. I mean, but
Well, how exciting was it as kids to go to a night game for the first time? Was that a pretty big deal?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
we thought we had arrived.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have seats on the side. They kept those in a building somewhere. And every Friday, they get the students to go out there and put the seats up. And then on Monday, students would take them down and put them back wherever. They might have been under the old, no, they couldn't have been under the stands, but they were somewhere.
Yeah.
And they'd take them out, put them up, then they'd take them down and take them back.
How about, talking about the stadium and all, how about the block building on the corner there? Y'all remember when that was built, the original field house?
It was there when we were playing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
was,
remember when I was a junior and senior, we might not have been the first bunch, but it was just a few years prior to
Right,
that.
right. It hadn't been built too long.
No, because man, that was great to have a block field house, you know,
Yeah.
because we used to go over there behind the boys' bathroom. They had
Yeah,
a
yeah.
old dressing room there.
Right.
And Lord, that was bad news. I mean, you'd dress out and run across here, and I know one day at Lowell James, I think, you'd come out off the field and you'd go over there and you'd pull off your shoulder pads and your pads here, and sometimes you'd pull your cleats off and just run around with your pants. Well, one day I made a mistake of pulling off everything, and Lowell James locked the door on me. And I was standing out there naked as could be. And it was some girls across the street. And the next day they said, "Hey, who was that guy that was out there?" I don't know. I wasn't about to tell. It was me. Oh, Lord, we had fun, but
One thing I remember, I think I do, is it seems like from the beginning of the season until the end of the season, they never washed our practice uniforms. We wore the same thing every day, every week. Now you can imagine how they got to stinking. But I don't remember. Maybe they did watch them, but I don't remember.
I think
I don't think so.
I think one time, Coach Meredith, if I remember right, he got the homemade
Yeah, that's
to wash them
exactly-
one
they did.
time.
That's
You know, big
exactly-
deal.
yeah.
Carried them over to the girls,
Yeah.
and the
And
lady
wash
that was over there, I forget her name, but they washed our uniforms. I think one time during the year almost. It was, guys think now they got it bad.